morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon.
I know. Here we are.
You've been talking about yourself all day, as you said,
I've been talking
for the last 3 days.
Yeah, for 3 days straight, I've been talking about myself.
And writing and working and doing everything at the same time, it seems.
Well, I mean, basically, I finished the record about 4 weeks ago. So, is it 4 weeks? Maybe 4 weeks. So, literally driving to the studio to finish vocals. My single's on the radio. They're mixing the record in London. They're mastering the rest of it. And so I can learn the song live. This is like.
Was it something you were really anxious to get out? Like, were you the one saying, okay, we gotta... Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I'm good. I was just hanging out, talking about myself some more. That's
what you do.
That's what I've been doing lately. I like your hearts.
Thank you. I can't eat them.
I know, they look delicious.
I do.
Sorry?
Nothing.
Oh, I was talking to the Neil there.
Oh, okay.
The Neil.
It's good to see some people sharing
gracefully.
So many people listening to this room, too.
I know, I used to do it because all my little...
Just have the kids talk.
We just had a good talk.
Oh, just a heart talk, too.
Yeah, it's the thematic today.
Let me get rid of this piece of,
Whoa.
Pretty sour, those things.
I know, I was like, wing!
What time is it? Sorry, I'm just thinking never mind.
I have you at 1:13 at the moment.
Excellent. Thank
Whatever you want.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon.
I know. Here we are.
You've been talking about yourself all day, as you said,
I've been
for the
talking-
last 3 days.
Yeah, for 3 days straight, I've been talking about myself.
And writing and working and doing everything at the same time, it seems.
Well, I mean, basically, I finished the record about 4 weeks ago. So, is it 4 weeks? Maybe 4 weeks. So, literally driving to the studio to finish vocals. My single's on the radio. They're mixing the record in London. They're mastering the rest of it in LA. It was, and then going to rehearsal afterwards so I can learn the song live. This is like, what?
Was it something you were really anxious to get out? Like, were you the one saying, okay, we got to get it out before the end of the year? Or was it, I want to spend time with my kid, or I want to go on tour? Why was it so important to get it out?
I basically was going to put out last Christmas because it's a long story, but I had these leftover tracks that were kind of the first initial inspiration. Wonderful Life, and You Started It. And I didn't put Wonderful Life on because it was a little dark for the last record. I thought it was a little too deep, and so they were kind of burning my iTunes. I was like, am I really going to let these just sit in there? And then I ended up going in with Pharrell a year ago. And we went just randomly writing, and we wrote Orange County Girl, Wind It Up, and Breaking Up. And I'm like, oh my God, I almost have an album, you know? So I thought last Christmas, you know, I could put it out, I could do it. I was excited, you know? The last record was exciting, and so I got Kingston in my belly, so then I didn't get to put it out. So I basically, after I had Kingston, about 2.5 months after that, I thought, well, if I go in and see how it is, if it feels right, if it's meant to be, then I only have a couple more songs to write. Little did I know I'd end up rewriting and writing most of the album in the last 2.5 months. But I just went in. I mean, I'm really blessed. I have this cool little guy that comes with me everywhere. He's really chilled. He's been really easy, and I just be in the studio, and it's very relaxing. Like, I literally will have him like in the Moses basket sitting next to me and like making up melodies and writing songs, and it's very, you know, chilled out way. So.
Wow. Well, you're actually really lucky that it's working out that way.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like, why don't you just take a maternity leave and all that stuff? But I didn't really want to. I mean, I feel like I'm in a rush, you know, like everything's happening and I want to do it now. I know it's not going to last forever. I'm enjoying the moment. And the thing is if I had to like leave him at home and have a babysitter or a daycare or something, that would be different. But he comes with me everywhere. I would have never, you know, went back to work. But my work isn't work. It's like fun, and you know, so here we are.
And when you listen to the record and you listen to songs like Don't Get It Twisted, and you're like, oh, I think something's happening right now. It's pretty obvious that it worked out well, but it wasn't planned at the same time.
Yeah.
But yet you were always talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I wanted to do ever since probably, before puberty. I always wanted to have a baby. I always wanted to have a baby since I was a baby. And it just was one of those things. It was so weird. Like, why don't I have one? It's like all the years have gone by, and like, how did this happen? And kept kind of getting put off, and then I kept getting more selfish and more in my life, and how am I going to fit it in? And then cut to thinking about it. It's around the corner. I know it is, and then bam, like, oops, here he is. He's like in my stomach, and then I found out I was pregnant during rehearsals when I was getting ready to go on the tour, and it was like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong? You know, it's like that feeling. I don't know if you've ever been pregnant, but it's definitely a weird feeling. And then I found out, and I was like, what am I gonna do? So I toured until I was about 4.5 months.
And you totally rocked it. I remember you being on stage in Montreal, and I think you just announced it a couple dates earlier, and you were like, sing to the baby or something. And I was like, wow, she's doing it. Like, she's rocking out on stage. You gave it your all. You could have just said, okay, well, I'm going to cancel this tour or move on.
Yeah, I thought about it, trust me, but it was really, it's such a commitment, and I could do it. You know, I did it. It was hard. It was like 9 costume changes, and you know, you feel really sick. There was nights where I kind of cried before I went on stage. And those shows were like the last kind of shows of the tour, and it was really difficult. I think the thing that kind of saved me were like the somehow God, or you know, put these like delicious little girls from age like 8 to 14, like their first concert, and they were like in the front rows, and like I would just look down at them, and they were just kind of saw myself all over them, like, and they were all dressed up and singing every lyric to every song, and it just kind of was the thing that saved me and gave me that extra, like, okay, you know, I can make it through this show. And it was a magical tour because there was so many things going on at one time, you know.
Sure. And was it rewarding as well to see that people from age 8 to, as you said, you know, 88 were probably embracing that album? When we spoke, when you were getting ready to release it, you were like, I don't know how this got this way. It was supposed to be this tiny little dance album that I was going to do as a side project, and it turned into, you know, it elevated you to some kind of like crazy glamazon status and radio goddess that you know, even higher than anything you'd ever achieved.
I was totally mind-blowing and unexpected, and I just kind of, who would have thought people wanted to hear like an 80s dance-inspired record? You know, I wanted to hear it, and I guess I'm kind of like everybody else. So it was really, cut to here I am doing another one when, you know, it's embarrassing. Like, I was only going to do one, but here I am doing 2. And I just felt very inspired and just really wanted to do it. And I'm really glad I did. I think the record is really fresh. It's so different from the last one because it doesn't have the same kind of inspiration. It's more modern in the sense that it was like very immediate, like this is what I'm going to do right now, and it's a little bit more going, like falling back into my old ways of songwriting, which is a little more emotional, a little more personal. So I think it's just, it's a really great record. I'm just glad that I did it, and now I'm going to hopefully tour, well, I am going to tour it, and that for me is like the really kind of rewarding, I don't know, it makes it all real for me when I see the fans and the people that went out to buy the record and they're singing it back. And otherwise it's like, oh, you're on the radio or you sold this many records, but it doesn't feel like real until you see the people, you know.
It's probably because that's where you started as well. You know, you guys were a touring band for 10 years before anything ever happened.
Even though I always try to be like, oh, I'm so over touring, because it's exhausting. It's like physical, and you're away from everyone you love, and it's like being an athlete. You have to be very strict. It's like, but I am looking forward to doing it with the baby on the outside, and like, you know, having both albums to like put a whole show together and kind of, you know, get into the whole theatrical side of things that I like that I don't really get to do with No Doubt, and then, you know, if it happens then.
Lyrically, you were saying it was different. It sort of reminded me of what the headspace that you were probably writing from a listener's point of view at the time that you guys put out Return to Saturn. Return to Saturn. It sort of, I found there was a lot of parallels in the more emotional songs and the more kind of ballady songs.
Yeah, I think that's sort of true. I mean, hopefully not in that headspace, because I was in a really dark period during that record. I mean, I look back on some of my journals, I'm like, oh, I don't ever want to read these. I don't know what was wrong. Is that whole Return to Saturn, is that whole, like, you know, thing that happens, I guess, to people during that time period. But, yeah, I think it was a little bit more reflective songwriting, and I think that was just because I teamed up with people like with Tim from Keen, and I really wanted to write a ballad for the record. Kind of missed that. I mean, Cool was sort of one, but I don't know. I think I wanted a real one. So Early Winter kind of felt like, you know, I was looking to write kind of Eyes Without a Face, Billy Idol, or like, you know, I know it sounds nothing like that, but that was my kind of dream. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's natural for me to kind of write that way. The last record was me being unnatural, trying to do something that I don't normally do, which is kind of play characters, as, you know, like a song like Rich Girl, or, you know, just make it a little more surface, a little more lighthearted and just ear candy.
Cartoonish.
Yeah.
And now this one, are you finding that it was a more, I don't know, not a more liberating experience, but a more heartfelt experience writing it in the studio?
It was just, it wasn't as hard because the last time it was all new, going in with new producers and like a whole new experiencing the whole kind of producer circuit and going out there and trying to like get creative with people you don't know, and it was, you know, traumatic from going from this family environment with No Doubt to like trying to write with people like that and the expectations they're going to have. And so this time I really didn't have that so much because I did a lot of the writing with Pharrell, who obviously we've done a lot together now, so it's kind of getting more and more comfortable. I went in with Tony and did 3 tracks, so that's super comfortable. And then I did a couple of tracks with Keen, the guy from Keen, Tim, and he basically was just like so sweet and welcoming, and it wasn't hard, you know. So I just wanted to try to make it a little more easy on myself. I didn't want to do it if it was going to be hard and traumatic. So I think it made the record feel the way it feels. It has a relaxed kind of way about it, and it's spontaneous. So.
Yeah. I remember you were talking about some kind of like mental breakdown you were having in the studio, one with Linda, one with Tony. He was, you know, making you listen to his tracks, and you're like, these are so good, and I'm sucking so bad. Was it also easier to make the second time around?
I think it was, I mean, it's never easy.
Like less breakdowns, at least?
Yeah, definitely not as many. I had only one breakdown. But usually, like, I think it's always hard for me. Like, I don't know why, it's because you always get that fear that you're never going to be able to write, or how did you write, or how do you write songs? You know what I mean? That whole kind of like, And then, it's just a difficult process. I always look at songwriting like magic, you know what I mean? Because you never really know how it happens. It's just all of a sudden it's there, and you're like, it's a great feeling once it is.
So how do you do it?
I don't know.
Is there a method?
If there was a method, then I wouldn't be having this conversation. It would just be like, you know, then I do this and I do that. It's like you can try different things, and then you have to get there at some point. But like you just go through every song I've ever written, and I could tell you how it was done. But they're always different. It's always different, you know.
Yeah. Well, definitely would wind it up. I think it's something very special and specific that you had in mind for a long time. Because reading up on you, I found a 1997 Rolling Stone article where the first headline is "The girl that likes the sound of, or is obsessed with the sound of music," and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wow, okay, almost a decade later she finally did it.
I know, it's kind of hilarious. I mean, it seriously was a really impactful film when I saw that movie when I was young, and I love that movie. And
the 2 VHS taper.
It's weird. I always have these references back to The Sound of Music, of even when it comes to like making costumes, and I've been, you know, threatening to put that song to a beat. Not that particular song, but it's The Sound of Music to a beat. I just thought it would be so fun, and I did wind it up with Pharrell without that idea. It was just winded up. It wasn't with The Sound of Music on it or anything, and then I did the fashion show for Lamb that like 2 weeks later, and I was doing the music for it, and that's when I did a mashup of The Sound of Music with it. And when I heard it, I cried because it was like so genius. And then I don't know, Pharrell's like, "What are you doing to the song? You're ruining it." But, well, because he didn't know. He obviously doesn't like sit around watching The Sound of Music at home. Let's face it. No, we know. We know he doesn't. So. It was just one of those things that just kind of happened, and I didn't even really know for sure if it would ever come out, so I ended up doing it on tour a little bit. I just played like a snippet of it on tour, and now here we are, like, how many years later? A year later, and it's come out, its first single, and it's kind of full circle, because like the first time I ever was on stage ever, when I was in high school, we had this talent show, and it wasn't even No Doubt yet, and we played this song on my radio by The Selector, and I made the dress that Maria wears when she goes to see the children. She sings, I Have Confidence.
See, that was in the article too.
Yeah.
That was in the article too.
It's true. I mean, it's the truth. I have the dress. I have it on video, and hopefully it will never come out.
Oh my God! All right, TMZ, watch out. And you were saying, I remember you were saying, my mom helped me make the dress and the whole bit. How do you look back, or how's your relationship with your mom, who I know you're very close to, evolve now that you're a mom? Because I mean, she was so close to the whole No Doubt experience when you guys started. You guys almost living there and whatnot, and now a decade later, not even 9 years later, do you find it's evolved?
I think for sure. I mean, obviously, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to them, having grandchildren. It's like, that's all they care about. And I just went to London and took them with me for my London promotional tour. And, because I live there part-time, so it was fun to bring them over there. And, like, they just went to, like, everything with me, like my photo shoots and with the baby and stuff. So it is fun. It does bring us together. And I remember also, after I had the baby and Gavin had to go back to London, and so my parents came up to stay with me, like spend the night. It's like, I haven't done that in so long. And so that was like the big, like that was right when I went back in the studio and started writing. And so I'll always remember that kind of 3 weeks of just like having them there, and then going to the studio with Kingston and coming back, and it was just a kind of magical time. So yeah, I think it definitely brings you closer to your parents, because it's just something that it's such a miracle, and then y'all share it together. It's pretty great.
It's that closeness.
Yeah.
You're such an open book. You really surprise me every time, because you're such an open book. You're no different than when I met you with No Doubt, or when I read interviews with you, or when I see you on television, or even when you read the lyrics to your songs. You're like, wow, she's such an open book. You seem to have absolutely no fear of talking about anything regarding yourself.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really. You mean when I'm songwriting or whatever?
Even when you're songwriting, people have always tended to interpret your lyrics, say, oh, well, this song's about that, and you kind of don't seem to care. You're like, yeah, whatever. And there's never any of that, like, oh, don't ask Gwen about this, or don't talk to Gwen about this, or don't go there. You're very much an open book, I find.
I think for the most part, I mean, I pretty much consider myself to be very normal, and like that I have the same problems as everyone else, so I don't get too worked up about, there's not too many things to hide. So.
Is that also where Orange County Girl came from a little bit?
Orange County Girl came from me flying over to meet Pharrell, first class, like flying to Miami, thinking, God, who am I? My life is incredible. Like, how do I get so lucky? Like, I'm flying to work with the producer that everybody wants to work with. Like, my life is so insane. Like, I just can't believe it. And just thinking, when I got there, I'm like, I really want to write a song about, like, Anaheim, because just thinking back to that, like, that was just that regular girl that, how did this become my life, and how did this happen to me, kind of thing. It's just hard to believe. I have to pinch myself, all the time. So that was what Orange County Girl was about, and it was really weird because I was on the Oprah show, weird in itself, earlier that year, and I brought my parents and my sister and my niece, because she was really obsessed with Hillary Duff. Because
she was on there too.
Yeah, she was on at the same time. So we all went, and they do the whole thing of the story of your life on the Oprah show, and everyone's crying. It's like, they make it so intense. And Oprah turns
with
to my
voiceover,
the
music,
exactly.
and everything.
And so Oprah turns to my mom and it's like, so what do you think of your daughter or something? And my mom said, well, it was this amazing moment where my mom just said, my daughter is an ordinary girl, and she's living an extraordinary life. So it was like this quote, and when I wrote Orange County Girl, I write, I'm Orange County Girl. Yeah, I didn't know I ripped my mom off. I didn't even realize it till later. Someone told me, reminded me about that, and it was like, oh, that's really cool. So, yeah, that was kind of that song.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just find it very impressive. And obviously Orange County became such an iconic, weird wasteland because of the scene, because of the music scene, and now even through the TV shows, the Laguna Beaches and the OCs. Have you ever glimpsed at them and said, yeah, that's exactly how I grew up, or no, that's totally the wrong depiction of it?
That, to me, I don't know that world. That's not how I grew up at all. But I mean, I think it's always been sort of famous, Orange County, because of Disneyland,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and always this kind of transient kind of place, and where people come in and out. And I didn't really realize what a weird kind of place it was until after I traveled the world and like, wow, that's where I came from. It's kind of like, it's a kind of weird place to come from, really. But it has become very popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember people writing fan notes saying, I'm gonna move to Orange County, and I'm like,
no.
I'm like, really? It's a weird place to move to, but
It's a parking lot.
you know, but exactly. But now it's become very popular, especially with the TV show.
Crazy. And not to criticize anybody else that does this part of the job, but I've been watching interviews with you over the last 3 days, right? And it seems that more and more people will be talking to you about the fashion, the movies,
Mhm.
your status as a fashion icon or whatever, and less about the music, weirdly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that because of everything you're talented at, sometimes people forget that you're a musician and a songwriter first?
I don't really, you know, it's like I don't really like choose. People see me
Yeah.
the way they're gonna see me,
Mhm.
and that's fine. Like whatever thing you want to pick up on, that's okay with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know what I can do, or what I do, or what my history is, and you know, I enjoy doing all those other things too. I love doing photo shoots and doing videos and
Mm-hmm.
doing, you know, designing clothes. Like all that stuff is part of me, and it's a creative kind of outlet in the same way as writing music is. I mean, obviously music is the hardest and the most emotional and the most kind of, I feel the most proud of that.
Mhm.
So it kind of defines who I am in my own viewpoint of myself, but I don't care. See me how you want. It doesn't matter.
And what have you learned from being a fashion designer now? I should say that without the quotation marks, because you really are, you're truly a designer more than like a tracksuit
Mhm.
name person. What have you learned that you didn't know about yourself from being a musician?
I just, you know, it's something I've done my whole life really, so it's nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely enjoy the process of designing, and I think I'm really young at it in a way. Like I have a lot to learn, and something I want to do the rest of my life. So hopefully, with every collection, I'm getting better, and it's getting more more sophisticated, hopefully. And I just hope that it just keeps growing. It's fun how the Lamb it just started out as like just the clothes, and
Mhm.
now I'm getting to do all these other things, like the handbags are coming out and the shoes, and it's weird because each thing that I do branching off of it, they're kind of funner than the main collection because they're kind of easy because you do the main collection first.
And then you get the
Yeah,
inspiration
and then
for
you
all
get to
that.
do all the other ones, and it's just really fun. It's a fun project, and it's fun to give away to all my friends, and you know, Christmas is coming. And
Have you gotten praise from any of your favorite designers or your inspirational designers, I guess?
No, I haven't really, no, and I don't deserve any at this point. I just think that, you know, I have felt pretty supported in the fashion kind of world unexpectedly, like, which is kind of inspiring because obviously I don't fit in there. It's like, you know, I didn't go to school, it's not my world, so it's kind of like trying to
Yep.
kind of play in another yard you're not supposed to be in, but it's been all right, and I'm just going to keep going and trying to get better and learning, and I love it. I love doing it.
And we're going to see you in Montreal, we know, in April, I think, because I got the flyer and the CD even before the CD was released or the dates were announced. So there's going to be a tour for this,
Mhm.
and so what kind of stage show are you planning? Are you going to be planning a crazy, like, 9 costume changes show like you brought the last time? Or?
I don't really know. I haven't even thought about it. I'm going to definitely, like, think about that next year after I finish, like, getting the record out, and I'll put something together, and it's gonna be fun being that I have both the records. Like it was weird last time just having, okay, here's the show,
Yeah.
here's the record, the one album, you know, because with No Doubt we have so much to choose from. So it'll be interesting to see what songs actually make it into the show, and it'll be really fun getting the costumes together for it, and definitely gonna be a theatrical show with production, and you know, not a rock show like a No Doubt show. It'll be kind of similar to the last one, but hopefully better and different and exciting.
Do you expect your life to be as crazy and filled in the year 2007, like working with No Doubt while you're on tour, while being a mom, while being a wife, while being a designer?
Please don't go there. I don't want to think about it.
Because they must be itching right now. They must be like, okay, Gwen, it's time.
Well, I'm sure that we're all kind of getting excited about it again, and it's, you know, to me it's starting to, I'm inspired about it again, and have a little bit of an idea what we might do next. So we'll see. But I'm honestly so bored of talking about the future. I just want to be right here, right now, and just enjoy that the record hasn't even come out yet. So,
It's true.
So it should be out anytime, and I just want to enjoy the moment.
Enjoy it. High five.
Thank you.
Yeah, or
High
something.
five. Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like that.
You felt like giving me a high five,
Yeah.
right?
Enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
And
for having me.
have fun.
Thank you to Canada. I love you guys. Can't wait for tour. Best shows ever.
We know. Thank you.
Thanks.